am Grant Gustin.
Hi, it's Candace Patton. I'm Danielle.
I'm Tom Cavanaugh.
Hi, I'm Victor Garber.
Hi, this is Wentworth Miller.
Hi, I'm Javicia Leslie.
Hi, I'm Eric Wallace.
This is Sterling Gates.
Hi, I'm Mark Wade.
Hi, this is Greg Weissman.
You're listening to the Flash Podcast. You are listening to the Flash Podcast. It's awesome, awesome, awesome.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Flash Podcast. I still have to write a new intro, but this podcast used to be about the Flash TV show that is now over, and but now it's all things DC and whatever we feel like talking about, because I'm stubborn. I don't want to end the Flash Podcast, and we can do whatever we want. So the girls are still on the break, but we will have them back. We have to do a reunion at some point, but I am joined by a very special guest, someone that you are all well familiar with. You've seen her plenty of times. You've seen her you've seen her here on the Flash Podcast multiple times talking about Snyder stuff. Of course, she is one of the hosts of Supergirl Radio, the finest Supergirl podcast in the entire multiverse. Miss Rebecca Johnson is back in the house. Rebecca, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. Andy, you always pump me up, and I really appreciate that. I love the encouraging words, so thank you for that.
Of course.
And thank you for bringing me back to talk about all things Zack Snyder and Snyderverse.
Yes, because when this thing happened, I was like, it's time to bring the Flash Podcast out. I do see on stream that we are having some issues with Facebook. There might be an issue on Facebook today.
So that you can remove the Facebook and then add the Facebook back in. That's happened a couple times for Supergirl Radio. So
okay, do I just hit?
I think you hit edit and then remove, and then you can just add Facebook in again.
Okay.
There must have been some kind of bug on StreamYard, because if you had scheduled things in advance, it was bad for all of our scheduled streams.
Okay, so if I hit remove here, delete on Facebook.
Yeah, and then you should be able to just add it back, and it should be fine.
Okay. This is amazing for our audio listeners listening to this afterwards.
Well, this is live production. This is what happens when you go live. You never know what to expect, and if you need to work on something, I can maybe vamp for a little bit.
Yeah, vamp.
Okay, all right. Well, I just a little behind the scenes when I joined Andy, because we're on StreamYard. You can check us out at youtube.com/DCTV podcasts. I usually like to have a background of sorts, a background image behind me, because I use a green screen. And I told Andy, is it okay if I use a picture of Zack Snyder? Is it weird that I have pictures of Zack Snyder just available in my Canva.com account, ready to go for background? So that's why I'm excited to talk about things Snyderverse, because I'm just a big fan. So I hope that's not weird for people that I have admitted that I have Zack Snyder pictures in my Canva account ready to go.
Listen, I have pictures of Zack saved, on my computer, in my phone. It's like, listen, also, can we just, because people don't talk about this enough. Zack can get it. Like
he is a very nice looking, attractive man. I will say that. Yes.
Like people need to, because I remember, I think it was for BBS or for Justice League when he had he had bulked up like crazy, and I'm like, is he about to go fight Darkseid? Like, what the fuck? So it's like, he's a good looking dude. But
he's got that Snyder cut from Teen Titans Go, when they wanted to have the Snyder cut.
Yes. Oh, that episode. That's the only episode I've ever watched. That's the only episode I ever watched of Teen Titans Go. But man, that was so funny.
It's great. People should watch it.
Yeah, I think that season is probably streaming right now on Max.
It should be available on Max.
So, but it's been a while. So first of all, this year has been crazy in terms of all things DC. The Flash movie did not do great.
No, did not do well at all. No.
The CW is basically dying.
Is there going to be a Superman and Lois season 4?
I don't even. This
we
point,
know.
like,
we don't know.
I mean, it's been renewed, but
okay.
but like, wait. So have you not heard what they had to do in order to make season 4 happen?
I do know that they had to cut some of the cast.
Yeah, they had to cut 7 series regulars,
including Lana, right?
Lana, yeah,
that's devastating.
Yeah, I'm mostly upset about John Henry Irons.
Oh, he's so good on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, and but because of the strikes going on right now, we've started seeing that some shows that had previously been renewed on like Amazon, there was one more platform, maybe Paramount Plus, they are now unrenewed. They take it back to renewals because,
Yeah, I'm currently watching Superman and Lois season 3 right now, so hope to be watching it by the end of the week. I hope to be finished. So
yeah, you're doing a couple of panels at the DragonCon.
Yeah, one of them is on Superman and Lois, and one of them is on the Flash movie. So that's going to be a real good time.
Oh, now I wish I could be there. I wish I could be there. Oh yeah, new Rachel points out Kharkov, a league of their own on Prime Video.
Oh, I did see something about that recent. That like just happened, didn't it?
That just happened like a week ago. So it's just, at this point, like I don't, because again, like it can't be cheap for these networks to like again because for every month that these sets aren't used, they still have to pay for it.
Oh yeah.
And David Zaslav, everyone's favorite CEO, he loves saving money. So if this becomes too much of a cost of Warner Brothers, then again, I'm not saying I've heard anything because I haven't heard anything that they're considering cutting it. But it's like, at this point, like it would not shock me if Superman Lois becomes another casualty the longer the strikes goes on. So if the AMPTP and the studios would like to finally meet with the VGA and SAG-AFTRA and finally get them some fair deals, that would be great because this is a domino effect. Everyone is the fact that writers and actors that are out there striking, but that means that people who are working in production, like in post, pre-production, on set, on catering, and they're probably getting let go very soon because there's no jobs. Composers are not able to compose anything because nothing new is being filmed. Like it's a miracle that because yesterday was the release of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1 teaser trailer.
Yeah.
And I've linked to Rebecca's teaser reaction and analysis in the video description, so you guys can go check it out after this. It's an awesome breakdown. But I was like really afraid, like, okay, he's not gonna get in trouble because in the at the end of the trailer it says because he is he's writing, producing, and directing this, which we love for him. But I was just like, he's not gonna get in trouble for this, right? Because I don't know
because he's promoting it.
Yeah, but again, because I think we talked about it on the podcast stream last week. Shout out to Film Junkie Dave, we love you.
Shout out.
But because I was asking, like, wait a minute, so if he wrote it as well, what does that mean? What does that mean for Zach? Like, what is he allowed to promote it? And it's there is like like he is allowed to promote it, but like for example, like if let's say, for example, if you not interviewed him, and we asked him about a writer question, he would not be allowed to answer that.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it would have to be specifically about just directing, and I guess, I don't know what kind of questions about producing do you ask? Like, so but it's definitely
budgets.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm happy he's able to do that. It's but it's these strikes, they are. I don't remember. Do you remember when in 2008 when the initial strike happened? That's when Smallville went. When Smallville season 7 happened. Heroes.
Oh, it
God,
affected 30 Rock. That's all I really cared about. So
did they?
it was
Because
tough.
that show seems like the type of show that they would make in joke references about it the following season.
I think it's in season 2. I think it's an episode called like episode 212 or something. They couldn't actually title it because the strike had happened, and so I think it's just called episode 212. And that is the episode where they do the Midnight Train to Georgia stuff. And so a lot of it's like sung, and it's very interesting the way that they went
Is that
about
what
it.
we were seeing the sets? Like they were actually on it because we were seeing like because I remember like I've seen that video when they sing it because one I just it is such a good song, but also I remember because they were walking through like some sort of like behind the scenes or like some sort of stage.
No, that's like the TGS.
Okay,
set.
that would have been
Yeah.
funny though if they were actually walking through the 30 Rock set and like while they were singing it because the signal like what the strike was doing. But like that was scary back in the day. And then, so when it actually ended, like I thought in my mind, there's no way this is ever gonna happen again. And now here we are, 13 years later,
Mhm.
and so yeah, so the AMTPTP,
It's a mouthful.
AMPTP, yeah. Get your crap together. Stop leaking things to the press. When something is called a media blackout, stick to it. Like, but yeah, no, of course we stand in solidarity with both of the guilds. There's people we both of us know on the Actors Guild and the SAG, I mean the BGA Guild, who are especially they're doing it all in California, like both in New York and California. So it's God bless them, and hopefully this will all be worked out. But yeah, I think a lot of things have happened. But while the Flash movie wasn't just wasn't. I run out of words how to describe the Flash as an experience, as a its results. So it just wasn't. It just wasn't giving for 2024.
I guess you could say that. It just wasn't successful. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, I hate
Yeah.
saying I hated that the Gen Zers are getting to my vocabulary because now I'm like, it's just not giving.
That,
Like,
I
for
mean,
me.
that works though. I think that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's true. That's true. But over the last few weeks, we started getting some new details about what Zack Snyder had initially planned for the Flash in
Mm.
the DCU / Snyderverse. So we're gonna kind of break it down a little bit, and I put together this, I think comprehensible PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm so excited. There's a PowerPoint. This is exciting.
Yeah. Oh, I made images, and this is, I really want to go back to some of the concept art that was used for Flash. Like, I'm sorry, I do not know who the artist is, so I apologize for that. I tried to find it, but this was from the dawn of the Justice League special.
Oh
they were
yeah,
airing on the
way back in
CW.
the day.
Yeah, they were airing on the and sadly they never put credits. They never put credits in these images, so it's not a lack of. It's not me like it's not a lack of not trying. It's just that they just didn't put the credits in there. Cough. Is it? No, wait, hold on. Is this the equivalent of Rebecca Google? I can't compete with Rebecca Google.
Oh, this is better. This is visual. This is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
this special aired before Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice came out in theaters. That was quite a long time ago.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I remember I loved the concept art a lot, so I wanted to kind of just go back to that, and so we're gonna talk about Zack Snyder's the Flash plans. But first, just a little recap, like just a little refresher on what was going to happen. So in the original DC, if we're using Flash terms, like in the timeline that was the original DCEU. So just Zack Snyder's Justice League, or just called Justice League at the time. I think this was just part one. I don't know if the part one or part two titles were ever true. So that seemed like more like, because I just remember that Warner Bros. Had put it in the press releases when the 2015 announcement came that they had all these movies coming out and he said Justice League Part 1, Justice League Part 2. But I don't know if Zack ever called it Part 1 or Part 2. But on November 17, 2017, Justice League was supposed to come out, and it was going to set up Barry Allen quite a lot in the film before he eventually goes on to the Flash movie on March 23rd, 2018. One of the many dates that this movie had. It was funny, like, having to go, like, how many times has the Flash movie been pushed back or delayed or changed its date? And it was overwhelming. But this film was going to be directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Again, Zack had cast Kiersey Clemens as Iris was in the movie. I think it seems like he had talked to Rick about, like, who he would prefer. And again, this Justice League was a really good set start for Flash. In the Flash movie from Rick, from what we know, it was supposed to have a bit darker themes. I'd heard rumblings that the Rogues were going to be involved. We know that Cyborg, the amazing Ray Fisher, was going to be in the film because he and Barry were best buds, as you saw in the Snyder Cut. And so, as you can see, everything seemingly looked like it was going to go well in hand together and work out. And then, of course, Barry was going to come back for Justice League 2 as part of the Nightmare timeline, where Barry gets to really shake things up with time travel, including in Justice League 3. But then the Hamada Point paradox happened.
How dare you put his face on Steppenwolf? That's a disservice.
But that's the Steppenwolf. That's the Steppenwolf from Justice League.
That's true. That's true. You can disrespect that one all day long.
Exactly. So in the Hamada Point paradox, Justice League went on to only collect $757 million at the box office. We somehow had a Justice League movie that couldn't even make $700 million, which is, that is quite something. And then DC films in between, they just kept flailing. Like Wonder Woman 1984. We had Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I loved Black Adam. It also didn't perform well.
Birds of Prey,
and The Suicide Squad. If only we could have had a different Suicide Squad movie released. One that is like finished editing and everything. But I don't know, but maybe we should just let Warner Brothers gaslight us again and thinking that there is no such cut. Go follow David Ayer on Twitter because he's amazing, and we know that the cut is completed and ready and finished and ready to go. And then we had this summer's Hollywood blockbuster, The Flash, with $268 million at the worldwide box office. It has finished its run. Those numbers may have gone up a little bit, maybe to 270 or something at this point, but The Flash did not even make back. It made back its budget, but the profit is like zero. But yeah, because Walter Hamada and the people at DC Films and at the present bosses at Warner Brothers were like, why would we let a chef cook when we can be chefs and cook ourselves? And look what happened. And I will say I am quite proud of these photo edits. They're, as you can see,
very convincing.
Yeah, listen. I have such a hatred for this man. As an executive, like, as personally, like, I don't know the man. I've never met him. Thank the Lord I had never met him, because I think I would have a word or two with him. But yeah, so much damage happened to this brand under his leadership, and I think it's I'm glad whatever studio has him now. Good luck, have fun. He's probably not doing anything useful right now because the strikes were happening. So at least it's off our hands. So, but then something happened on August 4th, 2023. Okay, as a reminder, this is the nightmare that was the Flash movie production.
Oh man!
Like, look at how many directors, how many writers it took before we got to where we are now.
I'd forgotten about Robert Zemeckis. Yeah, they had
Yeah, he was.
contacted him because he has experience with time travel. Of course, he would be
Yeah,
great for the Flash.
and I'm so happy that he did not take it because I'm like, I do not want his name to get somehow dirty because of the Flash. Because like, because here's the thing: if you get Robert Zemeckis, you need to give him full creative control. Like that's just what you do.
Oh yeah.
But Warner Brothers, like who being like the studio that is so director friendly, would have they would have driven this man insane, and I'm glad he did not get stuck with them. So I would love to see him direct a different DC movie at some point. But yeah, this was the nightmare that we went through of all these writers and all these directors coming on board, and it was just what's so funny because at the top left we see Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Could you imagine if they had been stuck with the Flash and not done Spider-Verse?
Yeah. Yeah. They knocked it out of the park with Spider-Man.
Yeah, and now I just reminded myself that the third one, we don't have a release date anymore for it. So, but then on August 4th, 2023, one of our favorites, Jay Oliva, who has worked on several of the Snyder DC movies from behind the scenes, from concept art. He also directed and wrote Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, which is an amazing animated movie. But he said in an interview with Inverse, where we get a bigger insight into what Zack was going to do with the Flash mythology in the DCU. So I quote from Inverse: Rick's movie wasn't the Flashpoint movie. Originally, they were supposed to be just Zack's 5 films and one side movie, which ended up being Suicide Squad. Rick's movie was going to be a series of films, just like Aquaman. I think all of those films, they were planning to be trilogies. Rick's movie was laying the groundwork for Zoom as the big baddie of the DC universe. It was Professor Zoom pulling the strings because he had come from the future to basically fuck with Barry. In the Flash movies, Zoom would be the villain in the background, but also in the, how do you say that word, Rebecca?
Ancillary.
Yeah. Other films, you would see some of the influence of Zoom on the rest of the Justice League. And then he also went on to say, and I quote, at the ending of Zack's Darkseid
Quadrily?
There's some tough words. Or whatever we would end up with.
Quadrilogy. Is probably how you say that.
Yeah. We would end up with a Justice League Unlimited version of the Snyderverse, and then you flip it. You do Flashpoint Paradox. Everyone whose friends are now enemies, and it's a world that you don't want to live in. You can reboot the universe and introduce a new cast that way, because after 10 years, the actors need to go on to something else. I want to really capture the grimness of the comic, but also lay the groundwork for adapting this as if it was a Marvel live-action film. I just thought that would have been fantastic. Can you imagine Jason Momoa fighting Gal Gadot and then having that love story?
Yes, I can imagine that.
And Jay said to Inverse on August 4th, 2023. And I was like speechless. Because as a Flash fan, listen, okay. As a Flash fan, I love the Flash TV show. But we can all agree that Flashpoint was not one of their best adaptations. It was only 2 episodes, and it only really affected Flash stuff, and then Diggle's baby got erased. Like, it is such a waste that I'm like, now hearing this, because let's go into this. Let's go into this. The fact that he was gonna mess things up, and when we say he, we talk about Professor Zoom or Reverse Flash, because I don't even think they even call him Professor Zoom anymore in the comics. I love that he has a doctorate, by the way. I love that he has.
He's very smart.
He's very smart, but
he's very scholarly, an academic professor.
Very academic who just likes to go and kill timelines and mess things up. But the fact that he was going to go and affect everyone in the Justice League's own lives. Rebecca, what was your gut reaction to hearing that? Oh my God! Like, not only were we getting Darkseid on this scale that they were doing, but also Professor Zoom was going to play a role within the whole DCU.
Well, I guess my first thought was how great for Flash fans to have that. I was actually thinking about you, Andy, and people like you who would have gotten something more. It was something juicier for the Flash in these films, and how cool it would have been to have this front facing villain who is like the big bad, but then have a mysterious character sort of working behind the scenes. That would have been really cool. And even though I don't like Flashpoint, to be totally honest, because I don't like the resetting of things. I don't know that you need it, but I get why they would use it, why they used it originally in the comics, and why you could, because I think Jay Oliva said, like, you could use this to reset it so that you can bring in new actors, which is totally valid if you want to do it that way. So I think the fact that it would have set things up in that way, I think is actually really smart. And I think it would have been really cool to see, especially if it was going to come at the end of a series of Flash films where you got to spend some time with Barry and made that a little more meaningful. I think it would have been, I mean, Flashpoint, to Jay Oliva's point, would have shown all these different sides of these characters after so many films. If the Snyderverse had played out the way it was supposed to, you would have really gotten to know, I shouldn't speak for everybody. I would have really gotten to know Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman really well. I would have gotten to know Jason Momoa's Aquaman, Ben Affleck's Batman, Henry Cavill's Superman. I would have gotten to spend a lot of time with them, and then to see their characters flipped a little bit would have been really interesting. So I think the Zoom thing is a really interesting choice. But I think for the ultimate end goal that they were going for, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because when he started talking about how this was going to affect other members, I started like thinking, okay, wait a minute, because we have seen how petty Eobard can be on the Flash TV show, and I'm thinking, okay, well, let's take it to a higher level. So Rebecca, when a speedster runs really, really fast in a circle, you know what usually sometimes happens?
You either time travel or you disappear, like you evaporate or something.
Well, also you can also create a tornado, and I'm thinking,
true.
Let's go back to Man of Steel for a second. What if Eobard was the one who caused the tornado in Smallville and caused Jonathan Kent his life?
Okay. That's the most evil thing he could have done.
But I'm not done. I'm not done. What if Eobard is the one who went back in time? Because again, this all has to do with time travel, and this is like where it has I fought really hard about this. So what if he's the one in this universe is the catalyst to why Joe Chill kills the Waynes?
Also pretty cool. I would be into that.
Then
because that would give him a reason. It's not, I guess there is some storytelling choice where you could just say, oh, it was just a random thing. It's an unpredictable murder, and it just happened.
I get really scared because I know Batman fans are they're really intense when it comes to the origins. But but in this version, I wouldn't have minded if someone like Eobard somehow influenced Joe Chill, kind of almost like the devil on his shoulder, being like, why do they get to be rich?
Yeah.
Why do you have to?
I would be totally fine with that. Like, I get the reason why it makes sense to have him just be like a random murder, because it's one of those things where like you can't, who could have stopped it? But I also wouldn't mind it being something that was manipulated into happening. I would be fine with that too.
But I'm not done.
Oh, there's more.
Let's go to Wonder Woman for a second.
Okay.
Do we all remember Mr. Steve Trevor?
Always, yes.
Listen, I'm just saying, what if Eobard had something to do with that plane crashing?
So, like, he was time traveling to World War II, and then maybe working with the Germans somehow, or was he shooting the plane down?
Wait, was it on World War One?
I meant World War One.
Yeah,
I was thinking about World War II.
I don't know.
No, you're correct. You're correct. World War One. I misspoke. So,
Well, now, I'm not even sure what year.
no, it's correct. You're correct. It's World War One. So, so do you think that Zoom would have? Because I'm trying to remember now with the Wonder Woman 2017. Does his plane get shot?
It gets shot, but also I think that let's say if someone like Zoom had also tampered with the engine.
Oh, he could have messed up. Yeah, he could have messed up the plane.
Yeah. Thank you, narrator. World War II would be Sweet Rogers.
It's a lot of world wars.
Although a lot of Chris's, Chris Pine, Chris Evans.
It's easy to get them mixed up, honestly.
By the way, Captain America: The First Avenger is such an underrated movie. So if that's if you guys want to, if there's anything Marvel that you guys feel like you haven't watched enough of, I would watch The First Avenger with it's a good period piece. So that would happen for Steve, but then let's say,
okay, I've got an idea about Cyborg.
Go for it.
He could have been the one to crash into the car that caused Cyborg and his mom to be in that accident.
There you go. For Aquaman, I maybe, because remember, again, the only version of Aquaman we have to go with is the 2018 version, because I think it would, before all the change, I think there was some other directions that were going. But remember when a tidal wave hits where Arthur lives?
Oh yeah.
What if Eobard just decided to run really, really fast on water?
I think it's possible. Those powers can do that.
But now, at the same time, let me bring this full circle for why. Because at the same time, as he thinks he's annihilating the Justice League, he is creating a Justice League.
Yes.
It's like a beautiful paradox in a lot of ways, and that's why I'm like, it got to the point where I started sobbing out of frustration the more I thought about it. And I'm like, you're telling me that Zack was because here's the thing, like I said, I want to make this abundantly clear. I love the Flash TV show. The later seasons definitely struggled quite a lot,
as do all Arrowverse TV shows in their later years.
Yes, I was going to say something really rude about the Arrowverse, but I'm not going to do that. But for me, it got to a point where that show was a little too dependent on its ensemble. But here we see someone like Zack, and again, I want to make this perfectly clear. Zack has not said anything. He hasn't followed up with any comments to Jay since the interview came out because he's been busy working on Rebel Moon, and also he probably isn't allowed to talk about anything that he, because these are concepts that a writer would have to write. And Zack is a writer, so he would not be allowed to talk about it. But it just go to show, oh my God, this is someone who loves DC, loves mythologies, and was willing to elevate it to somewhere that we haven't seen before. Because Zoom being one of the big bads of the DC universe, I mean, that is pretty sick. Especially because I never thought about the idea if the thing is Eobard doesn't care about rules. He does not care about rules whatsoever. So for him, if he was going back in time and causing all these traumas for all the heroes, not only does that really bring the DC universe a lot more in its connectivity, but also it just shows that Zack would not be wasting one of DC's best villains. Because I don't even remember, because on the Flash TV show, Eobard was really there mainly for Barry's story, but we never really saw him affect other characters' trajectories. And for me, I'm just like, we live in a world where we couldn't get that from Zack. Zack was not allowed to do that, but yet we have, I'm trying to think of something absurd. We have something like Snow White from Disney coming out, and an actress who hates playing the role coming out.
It's honestly my favorite thing.
It is kind of. The memes are hilarious.
The memes are great. I'm not going to go see the movie, but the memes are.
I'm not going to see it either. But I'm just like, how does something like that gets to be made, but we don't get Zack's visions for the Flash and everything else? Because again, here's again thing like Jay was talking about. If they want to reboot after that, they could have. But again, it's like people who always say Zack didn't have a plan. Zack didn't know what he was doing.
It was a massive plan, and he planned it out with all of those other directors at the time. They were all talking to each other. So it is, that part of it is a real big disappointment to me, because they had somewhere they were building that they were going and moving towards, and then it just got shut down and it fell apart because they didn't believe it in it enough. You mentioned the Captain America First Avenger movie. That movie, people don't realize that movie made $300 million worldwide. It is a genuine box office flop. A great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Was not a monetarily successful movie, but the MCU believed in it enough to keep going and see where it was going to head. These movies, the Zack Snyder DC films and the Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman movie, even the Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, we don't talk about the duh.
Even that movie, those movies made bank, whether you liked them or not. They made money. So it is disappointing to me that there was a story that was being constructed, and there was a lot of care that was being taken place for all of these films to fit together. And then it just was not allowed. Like, they didn't even let it try to happen. They didn't even attempt it, really.
And again, and I will say that I understand that, there's a lot of money invested into these films. And I understand that studios, they want to make sure that things, that things are profitable. But at the same time, it's like, if you're doing all these changes constantly, of course people are not going to, eventually people are going to stop showing up.
Which is what has happened.
It has happened. Now, you know what? It breaks my heart, because one of the best DC films in a long time is Blue Beetle. You haven't seen it yet, right?
I haven't seen it yet, and I may not be. I'm going to Dragon Con next weekend. I'm going to probably be a little busy this weekend, so I may not be able to see it. So hopefully I'll be able to see it the weekend after Dragon Con.
I wanted to just bring up the box office numbers, like the films that actually did profit. So okay, let's go with let's start with the film that started the DCU, Man of Steel. It had a $225 million budget. Worldwide, it made $668 million. Justice League couldn't even beat Man of Steel. That's how bad things got. Suicide Squad had a.
And we should mention that right before that was Superman Returns, that people were kind of mixed on to not liking. So Man of Steel had a hill to climb to gain the trust of Superman fans back.
Did you? Well, we don't talk about Superman Returns United often. Like, how did you?
No. I thought it was fine. I thought Brandon Routh was good in it. Kate Bosworth's Lois kind of didn't have much to do. The Lex Luthor was kind of a retread. I thought some of the visuals were great, and I liked the use of the superpowers. So there were some good things in it. I think the story was messed with a little bit, from what I understand. Like, the novelization of it actually had more of a reason for why Superman left, and that would have made more sense if it had been in the movie. But otherwise, it was kind of, why did he leave? Why is she so mad that he left and didn't tell her bye?
She was mad.
So some of the storytelling of it was kind of, but I mean, there were some good visuals to it, and I think it had a great teaser trailer. It's one of my favorite teaser trailers of all time.
I never saw. Well, what was in the original teaser?
The teaser trailer is the one that has Jor-El saying something about, you may look like one of them, but what does he say? But you are not one of them, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this great Jor-El speech that talks about. I forget. I used to have it memorized, and now I can't think of it. It's something about being in the sun at the end of it.
They could be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be.
That's the one. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the one. You knew it. I had forgotten it, but that is the one. So it's a great teaser trailer. But yeah, but for Superman, a lot of Superman fans like wholeheartedly rejected Superman Returns. So, from what I understand, Man of Steel did kind of similar numbers as Superman Returns, but because I think Man of Steel had more momentum to it and seemed to be somewhat better received, it was allowed to continue.
I'm trying because I will say this. I hate Superman Returns with a passion. Like I
That's
like
fair.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. So it had a budget on $223 million and it made 391.
Total?
Yeah.
Worldwide?
Yeah.
Superman Returns made 300 how many?
91. $391.1 million.
Holy crap, that's lower than I thought it was. I thought it had done similar. Well, of course, that's why they went with Man of Steel, because that's twice as much. I'd always thought that it was similar, but that's definitely not similar.
No, it's Man of Steel made almost double. Double. So Suicide Squad they made $746 million at the worldwide box on the $175 million budget.
That's without China, and they won an Oscar. They won an Oscar and a Grammy.
David Ayer's Academy Award winning.
I know. I love it so much. I love it so much. You have to always call it that.
Yeah. Then we had Wonder Woman at $822 million on a $149 million budget.
No, notice the numbers go up. Notice that they go up.
Yeah, because look at the release, because this is 2013, 2016, 2017. Now, Man of Steel is the one before Wonder Woman that made $873 million on a $250 million budget. Now, I will say this to just play devil's advocate. I understand that a Superman and Batman movie should be able to make $1 billion, but these are still great numbers. These are still huge numbers.
That's almost $900 million. It is very rare for a movie to make $1 billion. It is incredibly rare. So to put that on any movie is so.
I agree.
I don't want to call it stupid because I don't want to make it.
I will call it stupid. I
think it's a little ridiculous in terms of expectations. You have to let the movie be the movie. You can't say, "Oh, if it didn't make $1 billion, it's no good."
It's the Marvel fight. I hate it.
Yeah, to me, that's really silly. It still made $900 million. That's a lot of, almost $900 million. That's a lot of money.
If you think about merchandise, if you think about home media release,
they made a lot of money out of me. I'll tell you that right now. I'm probably thousands of dollars on BBS stuff.
What was it? Because I remember when you told me, I think it was someone you were I've seen it. This is I'm going. I'm are you free this night? And no, I'm going to see BBS again.
Oh yeah, I saw it 15 times. Yeah, I paid for an ultimate ticket, which was not cheap. So they made a lot of money.
Wait. What's an ultimate ticket?
So they did it for BVS and they also did it for Wonder Woman. I also bought it for Wonder Woman. So this sounds ridiculous. I paid $100 for this card, but I was able to see the movie 15 times in any format, which included 3D, IMAX. I could see it once a day for as long as I wanted to go see it for $100, which is a deal, actually. Because if I had paid for 15 tickets, that would have been way more. So, yeah.
That is true.
I got my money's worth.
And then finally, Aquaman made $1.1 billion on a $160 million budget, and that was the last time they had anything successful, because then afterwards,
except for Joker, but Joker's not in the DCU.
I just call it Elseworlds. And then I'm only going to count these movies because Blue Beetle is actually not part of the DCU. It's actually part of the DC universe. But Black Adam, which again, I wanted that movie to succeed. I was fighting for that movie to succeed. It made $393 million on a $195 million budget, and then Shazam, it topped Shazam from 2019. The Flash made $268 million. Birds of Prey. Now, Birds of Prey, I think, is a little more forgivable because it only had a budget of $84 million.
And it was also right before the pandemic started.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it didn't. If I remember correctly, because that was like the last movie I saw.
That was my last movie too.
Before all the pandemic nonsense happened, and so I don't know that it got a full and fair theatrical release.
And then Wonder Woman 1984 was the first, I think, movie
during the pandemic.
Why the frack would they release it on Christmas Day?
People were at home with their families.
The second one movie made a total of $169 million budget dollars on a $200 million budget. But again, this is more understandable. Again, I just don't understand why they would release it in theaters on Christmas Day out of all days.
Well, people go see movies. That's one of my family traditions. Is that we usually will see like a movie, like Christmas evening. So that I think a lot of people have that kind of Christmas Day go see a movie kind of thing.
My local theaters are closed on Christmas Day, so that's why. That's why I'm thinking like, oh, that must be like what it's like for everyone else.
Where I am, those are usually open. So, but yeah, it definitely underperformed there. But it was kind of the height of the pandemic, so that's understandable.
But then, if we're taking a more recent example, we can look at Shazam: Fear of the Gods. It made $133 million on the $125 million budget. All the money they made here went to theaters and, probably advertising. So they probably made nothing in profit there either.
So let me ask you this, Andy, since we're kind of going through this, because we've seen that during the height of the Snyderverse that was leading towards this Flashpoint Zoom big bad thing, the numbers were really high. And now we have seen them go down and performance is not as good. Why do you think that is?
I think that at some point it became evident, I think, for general moviegoers, us like hardcore fans, that this studio had no direction. They lost their only visionary with Zack, who had a plan. Now, I want us to be perfectly clear to everyone. It's okay if you didn't like his plan. It's perfectly fine, but we need to acknowledge the fact that Zack had a plan. We can have subjective conversation about like, did you like what he was going to do with it or not? But to say it as a fact that Zack Snyder was clueless, that's where I take the biggest disrespect to him, because this was a man who had a plan. Just because his name isn't Kevin Feige doesn't mean that someone like Zack Snyder couldn't come up with a plan. Again, he's a phenomenal filmmaker, and again, like, I also think he has a hyper focus, because I'm autistic, so but in all people who have autism, we have a lot of hyperfixations with things, and I think someone like that, I'm not saying he has autism or ADHD, but like I think he knows how to plan things in his head that only he can see, that he then eventually puts out on paper and in script format or storyboards or whatever and so on. So again, this was a man who had a plan. That's what I'm trying to tell here, like, that whether you like it or not, he had a plan. So when people start understanding, oh, this man, they don't have their own Phase 1, they don't have their own Infinity Saga now that Zack is gone. I think people really love seeing connectivity. They want, and connectivity does not mean just having characters doing cameos here and there. They want to see a story purpose, and none of these films. And I'm including Justice League because I'm including Justice League here because this is the one that they considered canon for whatever reason.
And notice this is that film, or I should say movie. I don't want to even call it a film. That cobbled together movie. That's where it starts to go down. All the numbers go up, and then you get to Justice League, and it starts to go down. I wholeheartedly agree with you that people gave up after that. When people kept asking me like, well, why the Flash movie didn't do very well? Why do you think that is? And I'm like, because people don't like this. People didn't like that you screwed Zack Snyder over, and they don't like that you ruined the story, and so they gave up. So I wasn't surprised when the Flash movie didn't do very well, because it's a trending downward spiral. So I guess I'm kind of interviewing you here, Andy, because
go for it.
I'm curious about your opinion. So we've been kind of talking about this Zoom plan and how people who may not have liked the Snyderverse could still recognize that there was a plan. So I guess my question is, if it had not been Zack Snyder who had that plan, let's say if it had been a James Gunn or a Joss Whedon, would people be more willing to recognize that the plan was good, or do they hate the plan, or do they hate the planner?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that for some reason this industry in Hollywood has something against Zach. I think it's because he's willing to push the limits on what you can do in filmmaking. And and again, we Rebecca, we worked in various ways in entertainment, and we know that higher executives and superiors, they don't like when they're told that your idea does not work. Your vision does not work. They don't like it, so they punish the little guy for it. For me, I think that also James Gunn. I think people are gonna show up for his. I think they will show up for his plans for whatever they are for Chapter 1. I do believe there was a time period where before we knew everything that Jaws had caused, not just through Jaws' sleep, but also what he did to people on Buffy and other productions. I think people would have been interested to see what he would have done, especially right after the Avengers. And I mean, when I say the Avengers, I mean the first one, because Age of Ultron was a shit movie. Age of Ultron is just the first Avengers movie, but they just replaced it with robots. They
were both bad. Sorry.
I like the first one. I do like the first one. I do like the first one. The second one is garbage.
They were both bad.
That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, they're nothing in comparison to Infinity War and Endgame, of course. But I do think people would have shown up if they knew Jaws had some type of plan. They would have showed up. But I think it's mostly because I think they hate the planner, not so much the plans.
Yeah.
Because, do I say this? When Jeff Johns was at his prime, if this was a plan if this was a plan coming from him, that the combo community would have eaten that up.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't always agree with everything Zach does. I've had some issues with some of his stuff in the DC movie.
Yeah, don't get me started. Bruce and Lois thing. Don't even get me started. There are some things I would not have cared for. No, I get it.
Now, this would have been my reaction if I'd seen them kiss.
What the going on in here on this day?
Yeah. No, I get it.
I kind of would have wanted Clark to say this to Lois if he found out that they had actually hooked up while he was gone.
You mean you were lying?
That's a great moment from that movie.
You know why that clip is so popular now, though, right?
Because people don't use that GIF as much as they used to, and we really need to bring that back. It used to be GIFable everywhere.
I remember, because the reason it's now exploded because people, so Gal Gadot came out. I love Gal Gadot, but I really wonder what happened here.
Yeah.
She came out and said that we are doing Wonder Woman 3 with James Gunn and Peter Safran. 1 week later, these, every trailer is going like sources close to Hollywood Reporter, Variety. All right, we're here. They're not doing Wonder Woman 3. So I'm like, what happened? So I wonder. That's why I'm like, people are using that gift. You mean you were lying? But yeah, and I think that if someone anyone who is not Zack, this plan would have been worshipped. But I don't know what this industry, why people are so against Zack for doing doing similar things, but also creating these neat ideas, because I'm tired of this whole narrative that Zack Snyder is the dark Lord Edge filmmaker that makes everything gritty and slow motion and so on. I'm just like,
None of those things sound bad to me, by the way.
They don't sound bad because again, like I think the problem is also that we live in a time where the MCU set the foundation for what comic book movies should be. I don't agree with that notion. I don't want anything to be like the MCU. I took offense when people said Blue Beetle is a good MCU movie. I'm like, fuck no. Hell no. Don't call it a good MCU movie. It's a good DC movie because Blue Beetle can stand on his own without having to look at the MCU. There's things in that movie, not to spoil because I really want Rebecca to see it, but there are things in that movie that the MCU would never do. So I'm like, we don't need everything to be an MCU movie. That's why, like, when I remember when Voldemort came on for Justice League in 2017, I don't want to say his name anymore. I hate
He
this
who
man.
shall not be named.
Exactly. Yes. When Voldemort came on board, like initially, because as a fan of his, like Buffy, whatever, and so, and the first Avengers movie, I'm like, this could be interesting. But then the more we started hearing about it, so many things that were changed, I'm like, is Warner Bros. Trying to make this an MCU movie? And then that's what it became. And it was, it's a horrible MCU movie if we're gonna, if we're gonna put it in those terms.
Here's my conspiracy theory. So we know that Zack Snyder had this big plan mapped out. Now we know it was even bigger than we thought. I thought it was just Nightmare Sequence Dark Side, but now we're hearing that Zoom Reverse Flash was going to be part of it and was going to be an even bigger threat looming in the background. I think this is kind of borne out into what we see, is that they had greenlit Zack to direct Justice League, but when BVS came out and the critics, don't get me started on the critics, poo-pooed it so much, they kind of were stuck with him on Justice League. And so I think then they were like, if we trash his movie, nobody's going to want to see more of it. So then we can just let this whole plan go. So I think they had to find a way. This is my speculation. I don't know. But I think they had to find a way to kill the big plan. And the Justice League stuff was the way to do it.
No, I agree. I think they were definitely self-sabotaging. I think, again, this is we have over the last couple of years, we've started hearing more and more about the creative struggles that were going on inside, like what these filmmakers had to put up with. So I can totally believe that someone like Kevin Tsuchihara, who was the former Warner Bros. President, and whatever her stupid last name was.
What was that latest? Ann Sarnoff? Is that who you're talking about? The one who did that interview right after the Snyder Cut came out and killed all the killed all the enthusiasm. What a terrible thing to do.
What a terrible CEO to a point.
I did not care for that.
I did not care for it either. People like Kevin and Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, John Berg. I feel like I'm missing a name. Well, people like that, I think they were all like they felt threatened by someone like Zack, I think. And I think that's why, I can totally believe and agree with you, Rebecca, the idea that they would find a way to try and self-sabotage by essentially, burning what Zack was trying to do, so they can get, because if they let him go, if they fire him, then they look bad. So they rather they were trying to paint the image that he's a bad filmmaker, so that's why we're moving away from him. So they wanted to look as innocent as they could, but they're not good at hiding their tracks because because then look what happened. Then Zack got hired by Netflix, and now he's thriving. He Army of the Dead, Rebel Moon, all these spin-offs, the prequel that Jay is working on, the animated show for Army of the Dead. So Warner Bros., you kind of screwed the pooch. I think I saw somewhere today, by the way, that apparently Rebel Moon was pitched to Warner Brothers initially.
Pitched to Warner Brothers and Disney. So
two dum-dums were
two dum-dums for sure. I get it with Disney because they didn't want the R-rated material. I can kind of get that. But you can make it PG-13 and still do the story. It's fine.
Yeah, I wonder what people what they think when they hear Zack Snyder and R-rated. I wonder if they think it's like an F-bomb every 10 minutes or something. It's like, no, it's just
blood.
It's just blood.
It's just violence and blood. That's all.
Guys, here's the thing. Disney, Warner Bros., Disney specifically, you know that blood is something that we have inside of us, right?
Mhm.
So I don't understand how you think it's like, oh my, it's too scary, you know?
It's a result of physical violence
Yeah.
to show the consequences of the
But we also
actions.
live in a world where someone, gets cast as Snow White, and all she complains about is that, I went to the Snow White ride on Disneyland, and it was too scary for me.
I think she needs to keep doing interviews. I think they need to have a whole press junket where they just let her say whatever she wants to say. Just let her loose. I need more interviews from her.
Yeah.
Her media training is
non-existent. I'm like, what media training?
I love it. I want her to reenact her perfect Snow White story. Whatever she thinks is the best Snow White story.
It's not 1947 anymore. She's gonna be a leader this time. Who the fuck asked for her to be a leader? I'm sorry this is becoming a Snow White rant, but I'm just like, this is just ridiculous. Like, because every day now, if I'm on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, I see all these reels of her talking about it, and it's like, why the fuck did you take on this job if you don't like Snow White? If you want a good Snow White, guys, go watch Once Upon a Time season 1. That's a great, because after season 1, it just goes down very quickly. But Jennifer Goodwin,
Correct, Jennifer Goodwin.
Yeah, because I always kept mixing her and Jennifer.
They're two Jennifers, spelled differently too.
Yeah. She is an amazing Snow White for the modern time, but like, you can both have love, have the classic story, but also add to it. She was a warrior. She was riding a horse. She
was a criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you, like, Rachel. See, you can have your cake and eat it too. Oh wait. You can have your apple.
And then be put in a sleeping curse and not have a prince to come and wake you up.
Yeah,
because she don't need no man.
She need no man. That's gonna be that's the one part I hope leaks on TikTok or something, where I'm like, so how the frack is she gonna get up out of this? Like, because again, she said that there's some guy cast in the movie, but
they should just end the movie with no prince coming to save her, and she just dies at the end. I think this is the ultimate ending to Rachel Zegler. We should do a whole episode just on that.
Can we listen? I'm ready to do it.
Okay. Yes, we maybe should do that.
Yeah.
I think there's enough material here where we could talk about Snow White in particular, maybe the other adaptations. Because little known secret, I'm actually a big Snow White fan. When I was 7 years old, I had a Snow White birthday party because the 50th anniversary. It was released back into theaters. And so when I was 7 years old, I went to go see it in the theaters. And I was a big fan. I've seen Mirror, Mirror. I've seen the Kristen Stewart stuff. I've seen Once Upon a Time. I love Snow White.
Which one is the Mirror, Mirror?
Julia Roberts.
Oh. That one looked like fun. I just didn't get time to watch it. But
it's some of it is good. I will say that. Julia Roberts is mostly unconvincing, unfortunately. But I think the creative storytelling choices are very interesting. Yeah, Lily Collins, New Rachel says, was Snow White in that one. So maybe we can take our little Snow White tangent and maybe we could turn it into a bigger, broader discussion. And maybe bring all the Rachel Zegler memes.
Do you think Morgan would be game to do it as well?
Oh. Maybe
because when Morgan gets we will get back to you in 2024 because I just realized the movie comes out in a year from now. But when it comes to that, hold on, when is Snow White coming out? You know what's so funny? Here's what's so funny.
We need to know the release date of a movie we're not going to go see.
March 22nd, and they still haven't released a trailer.
Oh Lord! Well, they don't need to. Rachel Zegler's been promoting it. It's all the talk of the town. Why do they need a trailer?
You're not going to believe what someone did on the Wikipedia page.
What?
Snow White.
Wait, say that again.
I need to show you. Look what is this in the cast that's for this movie.
TVA.
So what word?
The people at Wikipedia have taken her out of the cast.
Wait a minute. In August 2023, it was like it was reportedly
What?
No, this is okay. This is
Somebody's been messing with this wiki page. For the audio listener, we've now taken a real hard tangent into Snow White. And the Wikipedia page for the movie says in August 2023, Zegler was reportedly removed from the film, and it has Snow White as to be announced. What are the sources? There's 3 sources next to this.
I mean, it's a troll. It's obviously
a YouTube video.
I'm actually crying right now.
How did we get here? How did we start talking about this?
Because we were angry about how someone as amazing as Zack Snyder.
Oh yeah,
God,
that's right.
Oh my God. I'm actually crying.
Now I want to read this whole Wikipedia page.
You know what's so funny? We need to send this to Dave because did you hear that she went after him apparently like a year ago?
After Dave's a film junkie?
Mm-hmm. Because she had said something about
oh man.
Yeah, she was ridiculous. She was ridiculous for going after him. But when it came up on Film Junkie Live, he was like, "Oh, you mean my bestie?" I'm like, "What do you mean your bestie?" And then he told me the story. He told us the story. I'm like, holy fuck! It is.
Oh my gosh.
TVA. Listen, I know it's
that is a good troll. That really is a truly good troll.
Because that's the thing. Again, and we realized when we on one of the episodes we did, the role of Snow White was going to be played by Rachel Zegler. She was very Oh, I'm so... Ladies and gentlemen, we're so sorry. No. But March 22nd is when this movie.
It's supposed to come out. We'll see if it happens. What if they cut her from the film and just had the story without Snow White?
You know what? It becomes about the evil queen.
I would watch it.
I would.
Oh man.
Rachel's gonna go on to Wikipedia. This is how her reaction gonna be.
Bitch, you better be joking.
Yeah. So the reason why this happened was because we were talking about Zack Snyder, and we were talking about like how we live in a world where a visionary who had a plan for multiple films that could have made him so much money isn't allowed to be made. But this girl gets to go around, run her mouth. Again, these interviews that are all coming out, they're all from last year. What's so funny about it? But everyone, I think because we're in a strike, I think people are just now starting to get bored. So like they're finding these things, and it's like, oh shit, this is actually like not good of her to say. And by the way, just so that for anyone who is like, we don't have any issues with her because she's Latina and Latina Snow White. It's because she is hating on everything that is Snow White. True love, gone.
The first animated feature film that was like transformed the film industry. She was hating on that. She hated on the Disney park ride, which also makes Disney.
You know how many kids I know who love scary things?
It's not that scary.
And so, that's the thing. It's not. I had never been to, but like when she brought it up, I went to look on YouTube, but like, what ride is she talking about? I'm like, that's like I know kids who would loved this. And you know what's so sad? That this movie is directed by Mark Webb, who made the Amazing Spider-Man, and it's even though I know you and we have an issue with Barbie, this movie was co-written by Greta Gerwig.
That makes so much sense. That just everything is lining up for me right now.
Well, the Snow White.
I can't wait to not watch this movie.
Same here. If you guys want some good Disney remakes, Aladdin, Mulan, Little Mermaid, those are good. Don't watch Maleficent because that's not Maleficent.
Yeah, that was not Maleficent.
That was Maleficent nice. Because Liz, we need the evil queen in Sleeping Beauty's story to be nice suddenly.
That's
How hard is it?
It's a whole other rant. We should do a whole like Disney thing.
I
think we should do that. So
Yeah.
our apologies for taking a Snow White.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. But with Zack Snyder, I think again, we've talked about it on several episodes before on the podcast that this is if you want a good Disney remake, go watch the DuckTales reboot. That one looked fun. I saw a few episodes. Is that the one with David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck?
Oh, maybe.
I think that's one. Oh, I loved DuckTales when I was a kid. Oh, that was such.
It's a great show.
Disney used to be. I'm missing some of the old school Disney days.
Well, Disney is facing the same problem that Warner Brothers is now, is that Disney does not seem to have a direction for anything they want to do. They just remake a whole bunch of stuff and they think it's going to make them money. And it really hasn't. They haven't been as successful as probably they would have wanted them to be. So I would be curious as to see what happens with James Gunn's DCU, because they have a plan that they're working on, and I guess if Warner Brothers allows them to continue that plan to see how it plays out. But I think it's such a missed opportunity that Zack never got. I mean, the fact that there was this whole, he had a whole plan. He mapped it out, and they just pulled the plug out and just knocked it at the knees right when it was about to get good. I think there's more that we haven't even heard yet. I think there's so much.
Oh, once the strike is over, I hope he can start talking more about some of these things. But what hurts, because and this goes back to bringing it back to the Flash, is that I think the Flash movie that we got, it's fine, but it has so many problems. But then when I think about, I don't want Flashpoint to be the first Flash movie we get when we have barely spent time with this Barry. It's because Andy Muschietti essentially made the Snyder Cut canon to the Flash movie, which I'm like, yes, because F the 2017 version. But the fact is, we allude to Barry having already gone back in time, already met Iris. That film should then start focusing more on Professor Zoom. Or, again, just do a Rogues team up. Again, Rick was supposed to have Captain Cole, I believe, in the movie. And it's I couldn't even get the Rogues on the big screen. I could barely get it on television, all of them together. It's always these one-off episodes. And I'm just I would have been so fine if the Flash Free had been like Flashpoint Paradox, because then we would have earned it. Because then we would have invested so much time with Diana, Cat Clark, Bruce, Richter, Arthur, potential other Justice League members that would probably join along the way. And it's now, again, that's why I'm Warner Brothers, this time let if James Gunn has a plan, let's just see what he does. Don't change me in the middle, because then people are not going to show up anymore.
Yeah. I think Zack's plan would have been really great also in terms of the creative style of it. Is that Flashpoint, one of my things, I don't know how you feel as a Flash fan. I think this kind of goes with Superman stories and Batman stories too, but Flash has had the Flashpoint stuff on the CW show. It had Flashpoint Paradox, the animated movie. It's in the comics. there are other Flash stories, right?
Yeah.
So I think saving Flashpoint, which seemed like that was set up from the get-go because of who they cast as Thomas and
Wayne.
Martha Wayne.
Another wasted opportunity.
They would have been a great alternate Flashpoint version of Thomas and Martha, but to save Flashpoint for the very end and then do Flashpoints like Flash stories before that, I think would have been good, because Flashpoint just seems like nobody else can think of another good Flash story to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like Flashpoint and Crisis is what people think of when they think of the Flash, and I feel like there's got to be something else you could do with the Flash. But I like that the Flashpoint thing for this plan was going to come after other Flash stories, and it was just going to be a way to sort of
payoff.
Yeah, and actually close the book on that universe as a way to sort of close it out and start something new. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's why, like, you know, like when Rebecca and I, when we talk about something like restore the Snyderverse and so on, it's never about like that we wanted to replace, you know, and be the only storytelling for DC in live action. It's more so that we just wanted Zack to get to finish what he was going to do, and the fact that now he had all these plans. And again, the fact is, like, because I had never even imagined what Professor Zoom would do if he was going after the entire Justice League. I'm not that one, like, this is fucking genius. Like, because again, Eobard, you guys can find it on the TV show. He said it multiple times. The more you time travel, the less the rule applies. So yeah, he would go do something like cause a tornado in
Smallville.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of what. Yeah, I think about, was it? They never said what year it was. He went back to the 80s or 90s when Clark was a teenager. Oh my God, I remember when they tried to make Henry Cavill look like a teenager by just making bags. But I remember, like, it was like, you know, he goes back to the 90s, causes a tornado. He's the one who influences Joe Chill to kill Thomas and Martha Wayne. He's the one who causes a car crash for Victor.
And just to clarify, these are just our speculations.
Yeah, we
right?
don't.
This has not been confirmed. These are just our theories of what Zoom would have done.
We can't confirm that Barry Allen is the Flash. Exactly, shades are right.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But like, it would be funny if, like, Zack, if he does come out and talk about this eventually, he's kind of like, yeah, like, I was imagining that Eobard went back in time and he caused like a tornado to happen. I'm like, oh my God, we were so smart.
Yeah,
like,
I think this makes Warner Brothers look so much worse because it looks bad.
They look incompetent. They look incompetent. I will say the words, because Warner Brothers is like, it's just it's I don't understand. Like, this would have been an even bigger way to battle Marvel, because all Marvel had was just Thanos for 3 phases. But here we get Darkseid in Justice League or whatever the team Lex was building together, and Zoom as like the puppet master of the DCU. Like, this would have been so freaking awesome. And again, because I've never imagined what Eobard would do if he had an involvement in all the Justice League members, essentially origin stories. Because a psychotic speedster would do that. He would go back in time and think, if I cause a tornado to happen to Jonathan Kent, Clark is not going to be inspired to become a superhero. If I take Bruce's parents away, then he's not going to have, no one is going to be raising him. He can't become a superhero then. If I crash, because maybe he crashed Steve Trevor's plane because he was like, I need to make sure that Diana never gets off that island. And then, maybe he caused something to Cyborg, not realizing that there is a mother box out there that could transform him. And the same thing with Barry, like, he kills Barry's mom, not realizing, oh, I'm about to create one of my arch rival. It's just,
I think that would have been awesome that he would have done that to try to stop them from being heroes, but in the end, it's what makes them heroes.
Yeah,
it's the bad things that they have to overcome in order to rise to the occasion and be hope. That would be such a hopeful, optimistic story, that they would have overcome their tragedy and become great heroes for peace and justice and all that good stuff. So I think that would have been an awesome story, actually.
Yeah. Instead, we got this.
Well, he needed a bonus check. So that's, you gotta get that paycheck.
These fracking bonuses. Oh.
I mean, I get it. Like, it's nice to have a little extra money.
Okay, interesting comment from Mind the Gap. The more I hear about this hypothetical DCU, the more I think it would have been a mess. Not that what we saw was any better. I prefer the Batman-style reboot for these characters.
So is this referring to the DCEU, the Snyderverse stuff?
Is it? Yeah, Mind the Gap. Is this about the DCU? Just to clarify. I'm sorry, but like these I put his face like in a really good position. Like,
I mean, it looks just like him. I think.
I don't think he can fit into the Reverse Flash suit by any chance. So,
yeah. Well, the thing I like about the big story, especially involving Zoom, is that this would also have come off the heels of the Nightmare sequence when we would have gotten Joker and Riddler and some of these other characters that would have popped up. A lot of these villains that would have shown up. So I think it would have been really, really cool. Deathstroke would have come back.
Yes.
So that would have been something where we would have gotten a lot of villains. It wouldn't have just been Darkseid, but there would have been a lot of villains from the DC universe. And I think especially with this big plan, you would have had a very big scope of the world. The DC universe would have literally come to life because there would be so much going on, a lot of characters, a lot of different worlds. So I think if it had been realized, I think it would have been really awesome and people would have gotten invested in it. I think that's what happened early on with the DCEU that we saw when we looked through the box office returns is people had gotten invested in it. Started with Man of Steel, box office numbers went up. It was on an increase, on an incline, which tells me that people saw it multiple times, me included. I saw BVS 15 times. I think I saw Man of Steel 10 times. I saw Wonder Woman 6 times. I saw Suicide Squad 3 times, even though I was on the movie. But I saw it 3 times just to support it. But people saw it multiple times, and numbers went up. People were getting invested. And I make this point all the time. And if I said this on the Flash podcast before, I'm very sorry to repeat myself. But that phase 1 of the MCU did garbage numbers. The Captain America First Avenger,
Iron Man 1 is the only thing I think that
only one. Money. The rest of them big flops, didn't make a lot of money. But the reason that it became something when the Avengers came out is people had gotten invested. They were like, okay, this is something that's happening and I'll keep going to see them. That same thing would have happened with the DCEU if they had just kept the course, but they didn't.
Monica was saying it's all the plans from these unmade movies, and he also added, I think these cinema universes have overloaded audience's attention and caused them to get tired, and I think one movie at a time is a better choice.
Well, that's my preferred method. I prefer not to have as much connected stuff because I think you lose the art of the filmmaking genre. At some point, it just becomes you're just making feature-length TV episodes at some point. So I actually prefer to have, a movie that ends with the ending shot and not have a post-credit sequence. And I think that's a very valid point that people do eventually get tired of it. So you wouldn't want to do it for too long and drag it out too long. I think we're starting to see that now.
I think that James Gunn is going to, that's what he's going to do with the DC universe. Is like, yes, they're all in the same universe, but it's like, there's not going to be a bunch of Infinity Stones, an Infinity Stone in every movie for DC that people are going to have to go look for. Pinolio says, sorry if I say it wrong. I don't think it's the same to hear about it versus watching it on screen. Imagine trying to explain the first 3 phases of MCU to a non-comic book fan. Oh, listen.
That's a good point.
It's a very good point. And here's the thing. I think what me and Rebecca are going about is that this plan is something at least we would have wanted to see attempted at what Zack was doing with the Zoom and his larger Snyderverse plan. Again, like I said, subjectively, we can all have different opinions. That's perfectly fine. I think we're all just saying that why can we at least not see this as an attempt? Because now when you look at these other DC movies that have now come out in the last 4, 5, 6 years, like these are just comic book films. like again, I love Black Adam that was driving towards something, at least with him and Superman. But sadly, it didn't make enough money. And then you see all these other films that come out, like it almost feels like fluff pieces. And I don't mean to be disrespectful because again, I know a lot of people work hard on these films. Director, writer, actors, people on set. Like, no disrespect, but it's like if Warner Bros.' goal was to have their own MCU that leads to larger storytelling, then they failed because none of these movies have any of that. But Zack had a point. Again, I think that we've heard about David Ayer's Suicide Squad, how initially Steppenwolf was going to be in it.
Right? Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's in the final Ayer cut version, but like the fact that they at least were trying, that's where I show my biggest admiration for them, because I'm like, wait a minute. So again, some people may love it, some people may hate it, but at least you are trying to do something different.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, Warner Brothers was never, that's why like every time people say Warner Brothers is a director-friendly studio, heck no. So,
and the thing about the DCU Snyderverse story that I assume would be tied to this Professor Zoom being kind of in the background doing all these bad things probably, is that Zack Snyder would probably have only still done his 5 movies, and then he would have handed the baton to somebody else. And that director would have made a bunch of Flash movies. And then another director might have done a Flashpoint movie or something like that. It wouldn't have all been Zack Snyder making these movies.
Exactly.
It would be other people.
We had Rick, we had James, we had Patty. Again, I still really want to know what the plan was for the Cyborg standalone movie. Like, that's the one part that I'm like, we never even heard a director. We never even heard a writer. I almost kind of wondered, was Zack maybe going to do it himself?
I would have watched that.
I would have watched it. Look in the Cyborg. Like, the Cyborg is the breakout character of that movie. No disrespect to, like, I love all the characters in that movie, but it's like Cyborg. Like, again, when you look at what the 2017 version did versus the 2021 Snyder cut, it's kind of like how could a sane person be willing to remove all that with Ray Fisher and Victor Stone in favor of a more comedy, more Barry falling on Diana's chest because that's clearly what we needed. There were times in that Flash movie when I thought, if they do that, if Barry somehow like falls on Kara like awkwardly, I'm leaving the theater.
Well, seeing Supergirl get killed over and over again was not much better.
On behalf of the Flash,
me personally,
as the Flash Pod, I will say we are sorry that we put Supergirl through that.
She hadn't been on the big screen in like 40 years, and they just brought her back to murder her over and over again.
It makes me forgive the Supergirl 1984 movie a little bit more.
She got to live in the movie. She was killed off in the comics around that time, but she got to live in the movie.
But at least Helen Slater's version.
Version got to live. Yes.
Instead, she became an awkward CGI figure.
Oh, it's rough. It really was rough.
Can you imagine a portal is opening up, and this is your reaction? Wow, Clark, look, a portal just opened.
The worst part is she didn't even look like Helen Slater from the Supergirl movie.
The hair was too long, first of all.
Her face wasn't right. I would like to think that I know what Helen Slater from the Supergirl movie looks like.
That was not even.
It did not look like her at all.
But it's like, it looks like a video game, and I'm just like, guys, a planet. You're seeing other worlds clashing, but you're acting as if like you see this every day. Like,
maybe they do. Portal. Maybe they do. Maybe it's a common occurrence.
But in conclusion, it's sad that we listen. This is what happens when me and Rebecca get together. Like we go on tangents and it's fun, but we all like I just the Snow White part is going to be my favorite thing to re-listen to.
So Wasn't Rachel Zegler in Shazam too?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So I mean,
it wasn't that memorable.
That movie should have made bank because Rachel Zegler was in it. What a breakout performance!
And Helen Mirren.
Oh,
and
Helen
Lucy
Mirren.
Liu.
Yeah.
Oh.
They destroyed the crap out of that city, though. I didn't hear a peep of it from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to talk about that all day and all night. Still to this day, 10 years later, they talk about that with Man of Steel. Didn't hear a word of it after Shazam 2.
Yeah.
Probably because nobody saw it. But I think you should still talk about it if you think that stuff is really important. I think it's fair to critique it there too.
Let's look in the chat. Have you ever read Fables? Once Upon a Time basically ripped it off, and it was in development on ABC a year before.
That was a big controversy when Once Upon a Time first aired, because I actually did a Once Upon a Time podcast for 3 seasons, and that was a big thing that people compared it to.
Yeah, let me. Fables.
It's a comic book series. It's basically all the fairy tale characters.
It's by DC. Okay.
Is the wiki for that also edited in any funny way?
Stop it, Rebecca. No, I'm kidding. A television series based on Fable was put in development by NBC in 2005 for the 2006 and 2007 television season. The show received a script order and was developed by Craig Silverstein and Warner Bros. Television, but was not developed any further than the scripting stage. NBC later produced Grimm, a police procedural set in a world where fairy tales are real. That's
also airing at the same time as Once Upon a Time. Those shows were kind of on the same time.
Wasn't Grimm the show that
Elizabeth Hulk was on?
Yeah, she was on that. That's in December 2008. ABC picked up the right to develop a pilot for Fables for the 2009-2010 TV season. 6 Degrees creators and executive producers Stu Sickerman and Raven Metzner were writing the pilot for the hour-long drama, again set up at Warner Bros. Television, while David Samel had come on board to direct. There'd been no news since concerning a series based directly on Willingham's series, and in late 2010, he said the TV show was prematurely announced is probably dead. Instead, ABC developed a new series called Once Upon a Time, which features the fairy tale characters such as Snow White and Prince Charming, who had been cursed to live in the real world by the evil queen without the memories of their former lives. The show's creators, Ed Kitses and Adam Horowitz, stated that they read a couple of issues of Fables, but believed that while the two concepts are in the same playground, they're telling a different story, which I can kind of understand.
Mm-hmm.
No, we didn't even edit the Snow White wiki.
I think we do need to edit the Snow White wiki. I think we need to figure out something about that. I think we need to really. It needs some color. It needs a little commentary in the Snow White Wikipedia page. I think we could spice it up a little bit.
They even ripped off the plans for Peter Pan from an interview from the creator. Oh, like the evil Peter Pan. Where he's Rumpelstiltskin's father, because that's funny, because that's I was on the way me and Rebecca met was on Operation Cobra, and it was during the first half of season 3 when we learned that Peter Pan was evil and everything, and those are fun times. And then Once Upon a Time ran itself into the ground. For what? That show should not have been able to fail, but yet it did.
I heard it got progressively worse as the seasons.
Because so what happened later on, this, again, another channel, but this will be funny for people who love hearing me and Rebecca talk about things. I did a speed watch through the later season Once Upon a Time, and I was keeping her updated. I'm like, so this just happened, this just happened, this just happened, this just happened. And then when it came around to the 7th season, when they did a time jump, and now Henry, yes, thank you, was now grown up, and he was basically just reenacting the whole pilot. Like, kid shows up at his door saying that you have to come back to Storybrooke, blah, 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 blah.
Jeez. My favorite part was when you told me Emma had become the dark one, and I was like, what?
I was like, she's not gonna believe me. Like, I have to show her. Like so I just sent her a little clip on my phone. I'm like, this is what Emma looks like now. Like, slick.
It was rough.
It was
Once upon a
rough.
time is rough.
Could you imagine if you know what? I would dare Zack Snyder to do something like Fables, and so, but I want to see what he would do in the world of fairy tales.
Well, he's kind of doing that with Rebel Moon, doing all that high fantasy with the creatures and the possible magical things that are happening. So I think he could do it.
The villain was supposed to be Peter Pan kidnapping children with Hook as a hero, trying to save them. They didn't do it because at the time Peter Pan was not in public domain.
Mm.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I do remember that. Because if you go back, like someone like a story like Peter Pan is actually initially much darker, a lot darker than
That's our most fairy tales.
Yeah. Cinderella. Oh, Cinderella. There is. Have you heard about the version that the brothers had initially come up with, where like
they like cut off their toes and stuff to fit in the shoe? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know all about that. Yeah.
Have you heard about the grim version of Pinocchio? Of like where the story initially ends with him being, I don't even know if I can say it on YouTube, but like imagine that he is hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pinocchio is pretty grim.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the version Zack Snyder should do at some point.
That would be like up his alley. He would do so great with some of those.
You know what he could do? Because I don't know if they would do. I think because you remember that Owl movie he did a couple years ago.
I love the Owl movie.
Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful movies ever made.
Bring back an animation style and do it for like the dark Pinocchio story.
I'm into. I mean, sign me up.
At some point, I think Rebecca, we need to start because again, these podcasts we have not developed any new podcasts these last 2 years because Warner Bros. Keeps canceling everything. But I mean, maybe we need to do a Zack Snyder type of podcast where like we just, there is. I think that could go on like for hours. But if we could figure out themed things like this. This was a good themed episode where it was talking about the plan of it and the new information behind it. I think that could be cool. 1985 movie Legend, the one with Tom Cruise.
That's a good movie. That has some fantastical. It's kind of it's a fantasy movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. But
okay, Alan Moore stated hating movies based on his comment because the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie was sued, saying it was similar to another script, even if it wasn't just based on public domain. Here's the thing: Alan Moore complains about everything. He's
a grumpy old man. No, I'm just kidding.
He's a grumpy ass old man. He complains about everything. I'm like, because I felt like, oh no, he's gonna come out of the woodwork when that Watchmen TV show was announced. But we didn't hear. No, I don't think he did. I think I was worried he was going to. And then like when Swamp Thing happened, I'm like, oh no, what is he gonna do now? I do think he said something about Swamp Thing. But Alan Moore, like he doesn't like anything. Even though Watchmen, the original movie, is so good. Of course, he probably found a way to bitch about it because again, if it's because he didn't get residuals, and I'm pretty sure he got residuals, then I don't know what he's complaining about. Because I'm like, isn't Watchmen directly like it's a page from page adaptation. I know Zack did some changes. I haven't read the book in a long time. But I'm like,
it's pretty close.
Yeah,
there's going to be a new animated Watchmen, isn't there?
I'm worried.
I guess it's maybe up in the air at the moment, but
I'm worried.
Prepare yourself.
I think what I have to do is I will need Rebecca to watch it first, and then tell me if the movie is not just like trying to be as different as possible from Zack's and just trying to like not even just try to retcon the story that it's based on. I'm not gonna watch it because I don't trust Warner Bros. Animation to do. I mean, they've been kind of hit or miss with some of their animated stuff. Batman Hush is one of their biggest failures, but Hush wasn't even Hush; it was Riddler. So yeah, I don't understand why they're doing Watchmen animation. Oh yeah, new Rachel. This one you can expect me and Rebecca to talk about at some point.
I'm so excited to see Supergirl die in another movie. That's gonna be great. That's gonna be so good.
I'm excited to see Barry die.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I feel like, I guess what they're gonna do, they're gonna bring back the Bruce Timm universe, the Young Justice universe, the New 52 universe for animation, the Tomorrowverse, maybe even like Super Friends verse or something like.
But not the Snyderverse. You
Mm.
cannot bring the Snyderverse back. Just everything.
I'm so tired of Warner Bros. This goes into another point, is that I hate that Warner Bros. Just uses Crisis and Flashpoint as crutches. At least Zach and from what Jay was talking about, they realize that we can't, like, these are not storylines that we just play willy-nilly with. These, you have to earn them.
It has to have
Crisis.
impact on the universe.
Oh yeah, Rachel, this is a good point. I cannot wait for the Supergirl that we just got to know and love in the Legion animated movie to die.
Oh, is it going to be the same Supergirl? Oh, that stinks. She was good.
Well, imagine if like that Supergirl, Bruce Timm's Supergirl, the Supergirl from like maybe something like Superman, Batman, Apocalypse.
Yeah.
If all three of them just die.
Awesome. Great. They just better give me that Comet the Superhorse and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. If I have to watch Supergirl die many, many times.
That movie. If we,
what if they get Greta Gerwig to direct Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow?
Rebecca,
They're gonna do it.
shh.
They're gonna.
Why would you say it? Why would you like?
Supergirl's gonna complain about the patriarchy, and the story's not gonna make any sense. But it might look good. It's gonna look great.
You better be joking.
I'm not calling you a bitch. I'm not calling you a bitch, but like, I'm calling the universe out for being a bitch. If this, listen, I like the Barbie movie, but it's like
It looked great.
it looked
Story was a mess. Looked great.
so much pink.
But you know, Barbie has a lot of pink.
But like, is it true that the world ran out of pink because of the Barbie movie?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I love Legion of Superheroes. That's a great movie.
That was a good movie. That was a great animated movie.
Also, the guy, I got to interview Harry Shum Jr., who played Brainiac 5, and he was, that romance was so cute. I don't know if I can speak to this. Based on that, Greta Gerwig would be a better pick to direct a future state super.
I actually agree with this new Rachel. I agree with that 100%.
Who's Superwoman in the future state?
So, Future State Superwoman was 2 issues of this Supergirl story where she is in kind of a futuristic place, like a different world, and she's like, she builds this Fortress of Solitude that's basically just a greenhouse where she like gardens and has plants, and then she sort of takes on this other alien character and kind of puts her under her wing and trains her to be a hero and all this kind of stuff. I think that, and of course that story ends with Supergirl dead. So there's a real common thread here with a lot of Supergirl. And they killed Crypto in that one too. So Crypto and Supergirl both die in Superwoman, Future State Superwoman. But I actually agree with that. There was some stuff in there I think Greta Gerwig would actually rather tackle.
They killed Crypto? I'm like they killed
if I remember correctly, it had a little paw print on the tombstone. Yeah, somebody could look it up, but I think that's right. It's like maybe one of the big splash pages. But yeah,
they made a splash page.
or like a full page, maybe is more what I mean.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you looking at it?
This was a fan made. Why would they? Wait, did Superwoman just kill Krypton the Superdog on? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Greta, go do Superwoman, I guess. On Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, if you could pick your director, who would you want?
Okay, this is not just because I'm a big fan of his and because his picture is in my background and because we've been talking about him this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching that Rebel Moon teaser trailer, I was like, holy cow, he would make such a good Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie. Because that comic book series, and I'm talking about Zack Snyder if you haven't caught on, But he has done a really good job with the Rebel Moon stuff because he has developed all these worlds within it, and there's a lot of space stuff, like that shot of in the Rebel Moon teaser trailer where this big space barge looking ship goes across the screen. That's almost like some panels from Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Some of that looks, because Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, like Kara and Ruthie hop around these different worlds in space and help out these different civilizations and all these different culture groups and things like that. So actually, I think Zack Snyder is the one to handle that.
Are you talking about her?
Yeah, that's Ruthie. She's a new character. So Kara and Ruthie kind of hang out together. And
do you think she's gonna be in the movie, like, because since Tom King is writing it or working on it? Like, do you think that
Ruthie?
Ruthie?
Oh yeah, she has to be. Supergirl and Ruthie are like the two main characters. She has to be. Yeah. So yeah. I don't say that lightly, that I think Zack Snyder is like the only one I think who could do it, but I think he would appreciate the color palette and the art, especially what he did with Watchmen in the Watchmen movie, how he implemented the colors that were in the Watchmen graphic novel and adapted them to the screen. I think he would have taken Bilquis Evely's artwork, and I think he would have made that really great. So,
but you do a live commentary on Watchmen at some point.
We could. It depends on which cut you want to do. There's several of those.
Wait, there's more than theatrical and director's cut?
Yeah, there's a big cut that has all of the oh my gosh,
Rorschach,
the pirate story. Why am I blanking on?
It's on the top of my tongue.
I'm trying to remember what the title of that is, but yeah, there's a whole thing with the in the world comic book that's in there as well. I don't know. I mean, I think Greta Gerwig could probably do it aesthetically. I don't want her to write it.
I don't want her to write it, and also I feel like she shouldn't just get to direct it just because Barbie made a bunch of money. Like there's other filmmakers, male or female, that could do it. Hopefully, maybe Tom King has some candidates he wants to work with.
Yeah, they may have somebody already picked. I just hope they make it look like, because the problem with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow as a movie is that there are a lot of expectations for how it looks, because that comic book is one of the most beautiful comic books I've ever read in my whole life. They would need a good
cinematographer.
They need somebody who understands the aesthetic of that comic book.
What's his name? The guy that Zach always works with.
DJ Desjardins.
Yes, yeah.
Or who else could you be talking about? Larry Fong?
Yes, either of those two.
Ooh, Larry Fong, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Chef's kiss. That would be so
What's
good.
What's the last thing Larry Fong did? I feel like I haven't seen him in a while.
He's done some stuff. I'm kind of behind on the Larry Fong cinematography. He did those magician movies with Jesse Eisenberg. I'm blanking on.
Now You See Me.
Now You See Me. He did those. He did King Kong. Those are the last ones I've done, but I know he's done some other stuff. Yeah, Kong Skull Island.
He hasn't worked on any Zack movies in a while, so he has a movie coming up called Damn Soul, and a movie called Death of a Unicorn.
Shoot, he did Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I'm gonna watch that. Right on.
That movie looked so cute.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'm kind of behind my. I think the last thing I saw of his was The Predator. So I gotta.
Oh, they made a new Predator movie?
Yeah, a while back.
Man,
2018.
I have not seen Predator in a long time, like the OGs. I think the last time I saw anything Predator wise, I think I rewatched that fanfic with Batman versus Predator. That was that one is really cool. But yeah, with the needless to say, Zack Snyder is an underappreciated filmmaker, and I'm happy that he's thriving in Netflix. So go watch Rebel Moon this December on Netflix.
And in April.
And in April, you can watch Rebecca's full teaser trailer analysis and breakdown. The link is in the video description. So go subscribe to Doug Bill Broad. I love the intro. The intro was so cute.
Oh, I'm trying some new things.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, you should follow suit. Try some new things. Because guess what, Warner Brothers, it's not 1947 anymore. That is the part that makes me most aggravated by her. It's just like, it's not 1947 anymore. I'm like, what? So you mean that love died in the 30s? Like true love died? It's like the prince was stalking her. I'm like, the prince was never stalking her. He's like,
he saved her life.
He saved her life. He doesn't show up in the little third act. Go watch The Riddle Snow White on Disney Plus.
You should. It's a great animated movie.
Oh, I still remember the first time I saw the movie, and remember when she's running through the woods and like the trees like start becoming like. I'm like, they drew that. They drew that in 1937. You guys, that is phenomenal.
My dad used to tell me a story that I don't know where he heard it. He might have been making it up just to tell me a story. But he said that the evil queen in that movie scared kids so much in the theater that the kids would pee their pants in the seats. I have not been able to find documentation of this, so my dad could have been making that story up.
No, I can believe Mr. Johnson in like that could easily be something that would happen to kids. Did he get to see? Wait, was he old enough to have seen it in theaters when it came out?
My dad would have been 5 at the time. No. 1937. No, my dad would have been born 5 years later.
Oh, okay. But still, like that, the fact that they could do that type of animation in 1937, because again, computers. There was no computers. This was all hand drawn. That was. Oh, you know what my other favorite sequences is when the dwarves fight the evil queen at the mountain.
It's great.
We won't get that now, so great. On that note, Snow fucking White. Oh, Rachel. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me tonight. About these are things that only you and I can do. Like, if Toddy and Breathe and Lazy had been here, they would have been like, "What is happening right now?"
We covered a lot of ground. I feel like
we cut a lot of ground. But yeah, Zack Snyder is underappreciated. Go support him. Watch Rebel Moon.
You should.
Army of the Dead. Go watch everything that is his on Netflix. Relive his DC movies on Max. Assuming that Warner Brothers doesn't get petty and just start removing them. Because I've heard in somewhere in Europe, HBO Max, because they still haven't gone Max yet. They have taken off. They removed the Snyder Cut.
Buy physical media. It's way better anyway.
Wait, you have the steel book, right?
For the Snyder Cut, no, I was not able to get the steel book. I'll have to see if I can find it on eBay or something. But
we have a question from Pinolio because I don't actually. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as an Elseworld with Henry, I'm assuming Henry Cavill playing Sean Connery's character would be cool. What other Elseworld would you like to see? I kind of still want to see Gotham by Gaslight. But I don't know if it would be too expensive because they would have to build all those sets from time periods.
Yeah.
Because I do not want a scene, because one thing that became obvious with Once Upon a Time is when the green screen started coming in.
Yeah, they it was very noticeable. It would take you out of it.
Yeah. So, sure. but if they could do that with Gotham by Gaslight, like build real sets, and I think that would be cool. What else? What would you want to see?
I was trying to think. I've read a lot of Superman Elseworlds. There's one called True Brit that I think would be really interesting. It's kind of similar to Red Sun in the what if Superman had landed in England instead of Smallville, Kansas, that kind of thing. So there's a couple of. I'm trying to look at the list now. There was one. I cannot remember the titles of some of the Superman stories that I've read. But
Kingdom Come would be cool. Kingdom Come could be cool.
Kingdom Come would be good. Of course, I mean Red Sun would be good, but we've had a lot of iterations of that.
Didn't the Flash essentially do Red Sun for Kara in the Flash movie?
Sort of, where she it was more like the Red Daughter on Supergirl, which was a little different. But
that storyline was kind of fun though. Like, I'm trying to think other.
Is Justice League New Frontier? Is that considered an Elseworld? That would be fun to see.
Oh, you know what? Action. You know what? That would be considered Elseworlds because the book starts in because the story takes place in the 40s.
Yeah,
so it would have to be. It would have to be Elseworlds. Batman Year 100. Maybe whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Oh yes, that's a good.
Well, God forbid that we cross Alan Moore again.
That's got some good Mixes Pitlick in there. That would be.
You know what? I dare James Gunn to finally do Mixie on the big screen. It's time we bring him to life.
If they were really smart, they would make him like a big bad of their universe. Mixes Pitlick is super powerful. He can control everything.
I did see a clip recently on YouTube when he was on Supergirl in season 5, not the model version. Because the guy they cast for season 1, he was too pretty to play.
He was in. He was actually. We were talking about Once Upon a Time. He was in Once Upon a Time. The Wonderland.
Oh shit! That is him.
Yeah. He was the genie.
Oh my god! Forgot.
It all comes back to Once Upon a Time.
But yeah, I think there's probably more Black Label books they would adapt today. If they did something, if they do more Elseworld stories. But yeah, Gotham by Gaslight would be cool. Whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. But yeah, Batman. Who wrote Batman Year 100?
That's a good question.
Year 100. It was written and illustrated by Paul Pope and colored by Jose Villarrubia. Okay. It takes place in 2039. Gotham City is very nearly a police state. Yeah, that's definitely an Elseworlds thing because the police has never had control of City. That's why, when in the Flash movie, when they were like, when Michael Keaton goes like, "Yeah, Gotham City is the safest city in the world now," I'm like, bull fucking shit. That is not. That's not what Flashpoint was even trying to sell in the original book. In the Flashpoint comic, Gotham was even grimmer. So, good job, Christina Hudson. Good job. But with that said, Rebecca, thank you for coming on. We always have so much fun having you here. Tell people what is coming up with Supergirl Radio. What are you, Morgan? You guys have a lot of events scheduled on the YouTube channel, but for people who may not know, what is coming up on Supergirl Radio this fall?
Well, thanks for having me back to talk about Zack Snyder. Anytime you want to talk about Zack Snyder, just let me know. Or want Snow White, I'm also up for that too. But yeah, so it's always a lot of fun to come talk to you about stuff, and we'll have to keep the conversation going. If you want to check out Supergirl Radio, we're on supergirlradio.com is the website. We're also on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel most Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Right now, we are going through the My Adventures with Superman TV series. And the reason that we're doing that is because there are a lot of ties to Supergirl, specifically the Supergirl TV series. Lots of nods to Guardian. And I'm trying to think of some other things that were in there. But the Guardian stuff, Livewire, Silver Banshee, a lot of those
New Boys
things,
Legion,
the News Kid Legion. So those things it's Newsboy Legion in the comics, but in the show it's News Kid Legion. So there's a lot of Jimmy Olsen is one of the major characters. So there's a lot of ties to the Supergirl TV series. So we just decided we wanted to watch it. So we're going through those episodes of Cat Grant, Comet the Superhorse. I mean, there's so many ties to
That
the
show was
Supergirl TV series.
amazing.
So it's basically giving us everything we ever wanted out of Supergirl, just on another show. So if you're interested in that, highly recommend it. It's a great show. We're having a lot of fun with it. And then I'm going to be doing 2 DragonCon panels. So I'll be recording those and releasing those as 2 episodes. So I'll be talking about Superman Lois season 3. And then I'll be talking about the DCU and the Flash and the Snyderverse. So hopefully that will go well. Hopefully I won't get in shouting matches over that, because that could go south if I'm not careful. And
Are you
then
filming it?
maybe might just do audio, but we'll see. I don't know. Either way, it'll go up on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. Lots of things, because Morgan's going to be going on some international travel. So
Love that for her.
So yes, I know. So maybe I'll do some other things while she's gone. Might talk about the creators of Supergirl. And if you'll give me a second, I need to fix my headphones because they're falling off my head.
No worries. So Tuesday at 9 p.m. Catch Rebecca Morgan definitely. And if you're in DragonCon in Atlanta, go to her panels and say hi.
Yeah, I'll be hanging out all weekend at DragonCon. But I think we might try, in case I need more episodes, to talk about Otto Bender and Al Plastino. There are books about them. The Otto Bender book is actually really good. I highly recommend it. So we'll be talking about those things. And then eventually, whenever Morgan gets back, we're going to be talking about Supergirl being a soap opera actress in the Superman family issues of DC Comics. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to actually make it like a soap opera. So every episode is going to have like a previously on. This is like my dream for those episodes, is have like a.
I'm so ready for this.
So I'm hoping to actually present those episodes as if they were soap opera episodes, because people don't know Linda Danvers was a soap opera actress in the Superman family issues. She was on a soap called Secret Hearts. And so we're going to talk about those issues and that whole arc for that. And that's tied to the fact that Sasha Calle played Supergirl in the Flash movie, and she is an actress who was on The Young and the Restless. So we actually had a Supergirl who was a soap opera actress. So that's partially, we were going to do it way before, but then we decided we were going to watch My Adventures with Superman. So we pushed it back a little bit. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you've ever seen the Soap TV show, which is a comedy that was made in the 70s, I think, I'm going to try to rip that off a little bit in terms of how we do like a recap.
I cannot wait to be able to say that somewhere in the DCT Podcast production, we have soaps now. Like, I'm excited for this. It's
going to be fun.
Yeah, no, guys, definitely go watch My Adventures with Superman and go watch Rebecca Moore. I'm embargoed. I can't talk about the finale, but there's some really cool stuff that happens in the final episodes. That show, I just pray to God that we don't have to wait for too long for season 2, because they've already been. It's already been renewed. It's already picked up for season 2. But I just hope that we don't have to wait till like 2025 to get the show.
That'd be rough. Yeah,
that would be rough, because that was what was rough with Young Justice season 4, having to wait as long as we did. Did you get to the end of Young Justice season 4?
I never did watch season 4, so I need to get to that. But I did watch the other seasons as well.
There's definitely something in the finale that is relevant for you for Young Justice.
Is it Snapper Carr related?
No.
Because he was on Young Justice. They talk about Happy Harbor all the time.
I would say that if you're a Supergirl fan, then it's going to make you frustrated at the same time, because supposedly the show isn't coming back.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to have to go watch season 4 of Young Justice.
Yeah. Season 4 is also a little bit better. We also get some Legion stuff, a lot of Legion stuff. It's definitely a little bit of a different Legion, but the Saturn Girl is, first of all, like, I love her here way more than I did on Supergirl.
Saturn Girl's great.
So yeah, it's she. Man, I hope James Gunn does something with Legion in live action, like a proper Legion movie.
Why they haven't done it yet, I have no idea.
That one, do you want that one? You should direct. You should direct that movie.
I could do that.
Yeah, you directed episode of Supergirl. Miss Rebecca Johnson.
That's a joke. It wasn't me. I don't want to take credit for that Rebecca Johnson's work.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, the woman who directed episode of Supergirl, her name is legally Rebecca Johnson. So,
It does come up on the episodes as directed by Rebecca Johnson.
She even directed an episode of The Flash.
She did a great job. She knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she did.
Rebecca Johnson is a great director.
Yes, she absolutely is. Because I know at least your Brainiac 5 would be green from the start, not blue for like 3 years, and then suddenly we get him as green.
Well, we would do everything. I would make sure that my comic book crush Ultra Boy would be represented, and
Wait.
we would
Your
do it up.
crush?
Oh, I love Ultra Boy. I love him so much.
Well,
He is an underrepresented member of the Legion of Superheroes. So
this guy. Oh, I haven't seen him in a long time.
Ultra Boy and Timberwolf. Those are my
I
boys.
love Timberwolf on that. There was that short-lived Legion show. Where Timberwolf showed up.
Yes, he was on there. Mm-hmm.
When are you and Morgan going to cover that show?
We've got a lot of Supergirl comics to read. She still hasn't read the Peter David run of Supergirl, so we got to get her reading that. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So probably sometime in the near 20 years in the future, maybe.
I love that you guys have already mapped out Supergirl Radio for the next 20 years. I love that.
Yeah. So
Tuesdays at 9 p.m. here on these Deep Podcasts. Catch Supergirl Radio live and wired.
We have a lot of fun. Come hang out with us.
Yeah, I do lurk. I don't always comment, but I am always watching because I'm just like, this is like, you guys just do a lot of fun stuff there, and it just shows that there's so much of the world Supergirl that the TV show could have taken advantage of, but we had to tell the story of Andrea.
Very important.
Alex really wanted to be a mother. William baked.
He was a great baker. He was a trash babysitter. Great baker though.
Catch him in River Moon this December, end of April. That boy,
he worked on his fitness.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm just like, Carl, you had the hots for Monel and not for William. I'm like, you made a big mistake. I'm sorry, but Chris Wood could never. He could never look like that.
Well, he with training he could.
Chris Wood in a Zack Snyder movie, what would that look like?
The
beard would be bigger.
He would have to have the beard, yeah.
With that said, you can find me at Behbakht all over social media. And I'm here on the Flash Podcast. I'm on Endless Multiverse on Fridays. Sometimes also pop up on our friend Dave, the film junkie, on Vodka Stream. It's awesome. Go subscribe to him. And Rebecca also shows up there. So,
sometimes.
Sometimes we're there at the same time.
Sometimes.
Confirming that we're not the same person.
People are surprised.
Yeah, they're like, there's two of them. Like, yes, there always was. There always was two of us. You can also find me over at Screen Rant, writing all about, not that there's much to write about these days because casting and writing is on hold. But I do what I can to keep the news world updated on various stuff. Wait. Big fan of Brady's canon crush on Clark on that show. He did kind of have a man crush on Clark a little bit. He was kind of a fanboy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I watched someone who's going to start writing a Superman and Brainiac fan fiction, and we're like,
I'm
we
sure
don't
it's
need
already
that.
there. I think it probably already exists.
It probably already is there. In terms of the Flash Podcast, we're still figuring things out, but me and the girls will get together at some point and chat about oh, never mind. They confirmed in these events. Okay, that's cute. That's cute that did. Who wouldn't? Oh yeah, there you go. New Rachel, she's writing that fan fiction. So
Check out New Rachel stuff.
Super Brainy? What would that couple name be? Blark? Like Brainy? No.
I don't like Shablark. that doesn't sound right.
But yeah, we will be back throughout the fall. We're still figuring things out. But yeah, the Flashpoint is not going anywhere. But yeah, check us out on DC Podcasts with the remaining shows we have. You guys will probably now notice that when you go to DCPodcast.com, you do get to Multiverse of Color. That's because we have now integrated. Multiverse of Color has acquired DC Podcasts, a la Lucasfilm and Disney. It's brainy soups. Okay, you know what? I can like that. But yeah, Multiverse of Color has absorbed DC Podcast, and we DC Podcast is not going away, but it's definitely now part of a larger entity. So go check out Multiverse of Color, follow our stuff there. But yeah, we will be back sometime in September. But until that, go watch that Ramon teaser trailer, Rebecca's breakdown. You can go watch the Flash movie if you want to soon on HBO Max. I don't know why you would want to. If you're curious to see what that movie did, be my guest. But anyway, go watch Blue Beetle in the theaters right now. That's a good DC movie. 2 hours, clean, good production. Oh, Rebecca, there is so much practical effects that I think you're gonna love. It looks so fresh. Angel Manuel Soto, he is also a huge fan of Zack Snyder. So I couldn't find the nods he was doing to Man of Steel, but this is a director that we definitely approve. So go check it out. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Putting up with all of our thoughts on Zack Snyder, Presume, Snow White, Once Upon a Time. I'm sure there's more things we covered that I'm just blanking on right now. But yeah, this episode will go up on the audio feeds next week because we're going to try to release episodes again now on Wednesdays like we used to. But Rebecca, as always, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it, everyone in the chat. But until next time, I'm Andy B.
And I'm Rebecca Johnson.
And we shall see you on the Flash Podcast next time. Take care. Bye.